Right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our HR committee meeting. Now, do I do housekeeping first? Or do you think that's... Yeah. Housekeeping being the fire evacuation procedures. We are not aware of there going to be an alarm going off, so if it does go off, please take it seriously and exit as quickly as you possibly can out to the I always say go to the Bird's Aviary. I think it's it's more entertaining than just standing in there. But anyway, let's hope it's not going to be. Apologies for absence. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think I ought to bring to your attention that we have written, there are no special instructions for people with disabilities. And Pam and I were here for a meeting once, and the alarm went off, and Pam can't walk very far, but she had to walk all the way around to the bandstand because there were no instructions. Whether the fire brigade will allow, I forget the name they call it, but in a door lobby, you can sometimes leave people there, and the fire brigade will come and get them. But it doesn't just apply to us two. It's Councillor Leeks, Councillor Frankham. So I think it's worth pursuing.
I think Councillor Leaker has actually once taken it up, but I never knew what the result was. So perhaps we could do a little reminder and see if we can find out. It's a very, very good point. Thank you very much. Come back to apologies. We have Councillor Marks has sent his apologies, and Councillor Rita Burgess is kindly replacing him for us. Declarations of interest, anybody? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. If I could declare an interest on behalf of all staff with regards to paper C and paper D, please.
Thank you for that. I've not been notified of any urgent matters. Are there any? No? Thank you. Oh?
We always have this every time this is a Human Resources Committee, so we talk about issues that affect staff, and each time Shella has to declare an interest on behalf of all staff that that there's an interest in the subject which we're almost inevitably going to be talking about. It does seem a bit pointless, quite frankly. Do we really have to do this?
Just for the webcast, you're going to check with the monitoring officer. Thank you very much. Right, the next is the minutes of the HR sub... No, it's not. Yes, it is. I've got to sign one of them,
29th.
which is the 29th of September one. If everybody's happy with that. Good. And to note the subcommittee one, which is paper B. We now have to elect a vice chairman because we no longer have Councillor Leeks. I would like to propose Councillor Mrs. Still. If anybody... Right, that's seconded by Councillor Mrs. Burgess. Are you happy to stay where you are? Thank you. Right, agenda item number 7, which is the staff honorarium, and I'm not sure who's going to lead on this. Is the leader going to, as it's your paper?
Sorry. Phone on would be rather better, wouldn't it? I'll start again then to introduce this. This paper stems from a statement in response to a question, actually, in Council last time, that in view of the exceptionally good results from the residents' survey, which clearly demonstrate that our residents believe that the council is performing very well, both in terms of its absolute duties that it has to perform and also in terms of the delivery of value for money, that it would be appropriate to recognise the very significant contribution that is made by our staff to achieving those that performance, and to therefore award them an honorarium in their next pay packet, which would be for December, of £100 per person, subject to the number of requirements that we've imposed previously on this kind of an award in terms of length of service, etc. And that is simply the proposal.
Yes.
I have raised it already, but I wondered whether we could consider ensuring that staff get net £100 as opposed to gross £100.
Would like to answer that.
I suppose it should be me, really. We looked at the cost of doing that, and Shella will remind me of the figure, but I think it was another £20,000 on top of it. And I think we always expect everybody to pay tax on whatever they get. And obviously that depends upon what your tax situation is, how much that impacts on you or doesn't impact on you. I think we have to draw a line and to say that we're going to make a payment which is an exceptional payment in itself, and then to make a payment which is dealt with for taxation purposes exceptionally would be a step too far, bearing in mind that we are dealing with taxpayers' money here. And it's a balance, but I think probably the right thing to do is to fix the amount at £100, and then for the taxation situation to take its course, its normal way, so that we don't divert too much from normal practice.
Yes, Councillor Pearce.
Well, either it's normal practice or it isn't normal practice. My understanding is this is unusual and exceptional from what the leaders just said. So if it's not normal and it is exceptional, I still suggest that to make the gift more meaningful at the moment, it wouldn't be such a bad thing. And it seems to me that £20,000 isn't a huge amount of money. And I understand we're underspent on the salaries budget anyway. So I still think we should do it net of tax.
Councillor Mrs. Still.
Thank you, Chairman. I do agree with Councillor Sanders on this. We have an awful lot of respect for our officers. They go the extra mile for us, and we're showing this in this £100. At the end of the day, this is taxpayers' money, and I would like it to go forward as £100, and then the appropriate taxes are taken.
Councillor Putty.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I think I agree with what our leaders said, that it is balance, and I believe that in this time that we are living, we are showing to our staff that we do appreciate them and we highly value them, and this is the right way to go about it. And it just that, like the leader said, the taxation and so on will just take its course. Thank you.
Sloney.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. If we can't do that, one of the things that, and I understand that pro rata is something when you know, but can't we, because even the people who are part-time, who work part-time, give 100% as well. They were part of this overall, and I just think, why can't even part-timers have £100 in their December pay? I don't know, I've not done any figures, so somebody would have to go away and work that out. But I just feel that whether you work 20 hours or whether you work the 37 hours, you give your all to make the results. And I'd like somebody just to consider that even part-time workers receive the £100 too. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Anybody want to make a comment on that?
Interesting proposition. Do we have any idea what that would mean in terms of? I mean, because I don't know how many part-time people we have and what the difference would be. I think. I mean, I can imagine, but it's very difficult for me to comment. That if I was somebody who was working full-time and somebody who was working part-time got the same amount, I might find that difficult to understand. And the one thing we don't want to do is cause unnecessary division amongst people. I'd be very interested to know what the view of the unions or the staff association is on that, because I have to ask the chair. But I think that would, because if it's only a limited number of people and the difference is small, then that might be acceptable, providing that it wouldn't cause division and difficulty. We don't want to do something for a very positive reason and find we've actually had the opposite effect from somebody.
Could we have your views, please?
I mean, obviously one to be sprung on us a bit, but I personally, I can't see any objection. I mean, obviously not everybody's going to have the same view, but I can't really see an objection from full-timers for part-timers, everybody getting the same, personally.
And you?
Again, I haven't had much opportunity to think this through in full, but I think, as was mentioned before, this is sort of quite an exceptional circumstance to be in, and therefore I think sort of the initial proposal was quite fair and equitable across all officers, and I think that was quite robust in that approach. Therefore, if something was proposed that wasn't necessarily sort of that equitable, then obviously there are risks involved in that.
Sorry, I wasn't quite sure when you say it's equitable. I mean, the initial proposal was for it to be pro rata, and therefore that would mean less. So I wasn't quite sure where you were coming from.
I was meaning in terms of worked out pro rata, so people get what they would in terms of their normal salary, rather than sort of equitable in terms of the same amount per person.
Sorry.
I think. Sorry.
Rita Burgess.
Thank you. I just feel that a pro rata approach would be something that would be acceptable by everybody, because they can all understand it. There'd be no, I've got this, you've got that. Everyone would understand that it was a fair way of doing it.
Thank you, Councillor Sanders.
I was going to ask, and again, Shella won't be able to answer the question, but, probably, but just what sort of range of part-time working, because part-time, it doesn't mean it's half-time. We must have some people who work anything from sort of 20% of available time up to 80% of available time. And, you know, at what stage does it become actually inequitable that you're giving the same amount of money to somebody who maybe only does, 10 hours a week?
We have a huge range of part-time hours, people from as little as probably, I think the lowest I'm aware of is about 15 hours per week, and you can be anything under 37 hours per week basically is part-time. We do have staff that work, for example, 32 hours a week, which is 4 days a week effectively. So there is a big range of part-time staff. I've just done a quick calculation. I think we have approximately 116 part-time staff. It's about 20% of our workforce is part-time.
Just on Councillor Pearce's idea, I just want to say a few words on that, in as much as I think if you raise the sum by a small amount, it would make a difference, because what we're all agreed around this table how well the staff have performed. And when you look back over the last, 3 years, the actual pay rises that have been non-existent in real terms, I don't think we're talking about actually paying individual tax. We're talking about raising the sum to maybe £120, which will then offset some of the tax. The individuals would be still paying tax on that, but we'd be paying more than £100. And with inflation, I know it's actually dropping through the floor now, but the inflation we've had over the last few years, I think it'd make a difference. People would appreciate that. If you can get nearer to the 100 to take home, it's a sum of money. But it's just my view on it.
Shall I?
I'm not sure if this helps members at all, but we have done one-off payments to staff in the past before. We did a £250 payment as a one-off to some of our lower graded staff, and that was pro rata. We've done that on 2 occasions, once I think 2 years ago and once about 3 years ago. And the principle of always paying those payments as a pro rata entitlement is fairly well established. So that is generally how we apply payments here, if that helps at all.
And were those payments always before tax?
Yes, they were gross payments, yes.
Thank you, Chairman. Look, we've made a gesture here to show our appreciation for the staff and what they've done for us. And we're now trying to unravel all of this, in my view. I think what we're putting forward is I think the staff will be extremely happy with, and it has to stay on a pro rata basis, in my view. So maybe we just go ahead and take a vote on it, Madam Chairman.
Did you want to say something before we do?
Not really. I just want to second what our recommendation is, Chairman.
Well, perhaps we can take a vote on it, please. Those in favour of the recommendation as stated on the order paper. I think, do you want to vote against or no? No. All right. No.
That we don't appreciate what's being offered to the staff. Look, I just thought the gesture would have been nicer the other way. But obviously, we're outvoted. Thank you.
Well, that is carried. That can be noted, please. Thank the next item is paper D, which I think will be, yes, Shella.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. The Council's pay structure reflects the national pay awards that are agreed for local government employees. As an update to this paper, I have actually just heard officially that the pay award for 2014-15 has been agreed. That was agreed on Friday. The unions and the employers have reached agreement. The confirmation that I've had of that is only in respect of the 2.2% pay award though, and in our case that applies to our staff who are at grade 10 and below. I'm still waiting for confirmation, haven't been able to find out officially yet whether that also means that the 1% pay award that has been recommended for grades above that has been agreed. But I think it's probably fairly likely to be the case that the pay awards as outlined in this paper that you have in front of you have been agreed, and that is most definitely the case for the 2.2% pay award that applies from the 1st of January. So on the understanding that the 1% pay award for grades 11 and above is also agreed, which will apply from the 1st of April 2014, then that would result in there being a crossover between two of our grades, and effectively the top of grade 10 would attract a slightly higher salary than the bottom of grade 11 from the 1st of January 2015 onwards, which is when the 2.2% pay award is effective from. And the table in paragraph 4.1 illustrates how that crossover actually occurs. And whilst the overlap is only very marginal, it is recommended that the principle of not allowing the top of one grade to overlap with the bottom of the next grade is maintained, we went through an equal pay audit a couple of years ago and reviewed our pay structure at this committee, and the committee agreed at that time to remove the overlaps that we had in our pay structure previously to prevent a situation where a longer serving employee on a lower grade was paid less potentially than a higher graded post with more responsibility, and that's the key. The higher graded post has more responsibility. So HR committee is therefore asked to recommend to council that if the pay awards are agreed as per the current offers, that the bottom of grade 11, which is spinal point 58 on page 18 of your report, is deleted from the pay structure with effect from the 1st of January 2015. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Does anybody wish to speak on it? We have consulted the unions, haven't we? And they're happy with it. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else want to speak on it? Is everybody happy that it go forward? It seems to be very fair.
Chairman, it is common sense. So it's been agreed and everybody is okay with it. So we go ahead with what the recommendation says.
Thank you very much. We don't need to vote on it. Are you all happy with it? On this paper, right? If you'd like to go ahead with it.
Thank you. 3.5, it's really shallow. This £100 non-consolidated payment to employees on 11 to 25. Is that agreed as well?
Yes, it's everything in 3.5 for our grades 1 to 10 has been agreed. So that's the national agreement, and it does include that £100 non-consolidated payment.
Any other queries? Would you like to vote on it then? Sorry? Right. It's agreed. Okay, thank you very much. That seems to be the end of the agenda. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending.